first we get a puncture. Usually on your back wheel is where you get the puncture. Because there's most weight, you're sitting here, so most weight is on the back wheel. And it is the most awkward one to do anything with, yeah, because you have to go taking off in gears and all sorts. Typically, it'll either go down slowly or it'll just, you hear this big hiss and then gone. Don't keep cycling. Get off. If it's not safe, walk somewhere, but don't cycle with the puncture because you'll destroy the tyre and the wheel maybe. So you need to get off. You need to walk, or if it's safe where you are. And what I mean by safe is you can get off the road and you can turn your bike upside down and get the wheel off and get going again. So what bike do we use?
Put it off this one.
We'll take it off this one, yeah.
This one, yeah.
We usually don't have a stand when we're out and about.
Yeah, we'll take it off. But you can use this one if you want.
We'll use this one because it's your stand open there. Oh, yeah. So before you go taking off the wheel, showing here on this bike, there's two chain wheels here at the front. There's a big and a small, and there's lots of gears at the back. It's easier to get the wheel off if you drop the chain down here to the smaller wheel. Makes the job easier. And don't have the chain on the big ring at the back or the small one, just have it in the middle somewhere. It makes it easier. The next thing you need to do, if your brake's like this, kind of hard to see.
Lift up and tail.
Turn it around. On the brakes at the back, there's a little lever type thing here. It moves up and down. Okay. If I move it up, the brakes actually open out, so it's easier to get the wheel out. So if you don't open that up, the wheel won't move, it'll be stuck. So there's a little lever thing there. You just open it up like that. That makes it easier to take out. Then it's just a matter of pulling this quick release, it's called open. Could be tight. You just pull the lever. And yours is loose, but you just twist it a few times and just loosens it. Now I'll turn this around. Be hard to see. Right, this place. No, this is going to be tricky. But you can keep pushing the wheel down like that and it'll pop out. And then you pull out the chain. So it's usually simple as that. Keep pushing the wheel down and eventually it'll come out. And then you got it off. And leave the bike upside down. Now obviously this will be flat, so there's be no need to let the air out.
First and then being flat actually, so I'm not bringing something out there.
Hopefully, yeah, this one can start with. So, sometimes you get this little nut thing here that's on the tube. Just take that off. Okay. And this hasn't been off, you can tell, because it's stuck. So you just have to go around your fingers and separate the tire from the rim. The same the other side, because it's never been off. The reason I bring gloves, I should have them on, you wouldn't get all this black stuff. Oh, there's some there. Okay. Some tires you don't need. Well, I do the tire levers. The way you do your tire levers is you open it up near a spoke, okay? Just put the tire lever in and do like that, and that piece connects to the spoke like that. And then you can go around and take off the rest. Okay. Go all the way around. And then you take your tube out. Just pull it out like that. Before you do that, you need to figure out what caused the puncture. And the best way is just rub your fingers along the inside. What you're doing is you're looking to see if there's a torn or a piece of glass stuck in it. So there's nothing in that. May have falling out, but do check the tire. And then you got your tube. So you can check it, pump it up, and then get your new tube, take it out, and then we go through the motions of putting it back together again. So just find where there it is. So get your new tube, just put the valve through the hole, okay, and then you just tuck it in.
Is it a good idea to pass the inflator?
It is, yeah, it is. Just a couple of pumps, yeah, it makes it easier. There's a bit of air left in this one yet, so it's not too bad. Yeah, so what Duncan was saying there is you can, before you put the tube in, you see there's no air in it, and sometimes it's tricky to get it in. So the first thing you do is open up here and get your pump. And pump it maybe 3 or 4 times, and it just makes it easier to get the tube into the tire first time. And then to get the tire on, you basically start somewhere and just work around it. At some point it's going to get hard within the tire. I'll show you in a second. So now it's really hard to maneuver it in, so what you can do is you get your tire lever. Now be careful when you put in the tire lever, you don't get the tube caught, and you do like that. That's the hard bit done. And I connect this here now and I start pumping, but if I won't want to use that, I'll use this instead.
You're all very quiet, aren't you? Huh?
Now when the tire starts to get pumped up, just when it's like that, it's not fully pumped, you need to check and make sure that the tube isn't poking out anywhere. Sometimes what happens is that the tire didn't sit in properly and the tube will start to come off, and eventually you'll be pumping and you'll hear an explosion. So, well, a big bang. So just make sure you just look around and make sure that you don't see a big bulge coming out, and that's a sign that the tube isn't in. And if that's the case, let the air out and you just shove it back in and try again. So mine looks okay. And when they do let go, there is a big bang. So I won't pump it fully yet, but looks like we're on our way. It looks okay. Now to get back on the bike.
Looks like ball cone.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like ball, that's all right.
It's a bit bald. You would be too after 3.5 years. No punctures, why would they go changing it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. Can be a tricky bit to get it back on again. I'm not sure how you can all see this, but drop in the wheel first, okay? And then you take the chain and you just drop it over the gears like that there. And then you pull this back and let it down into the releases. Do a bit of manoeuvring here. See, it's getting stuck here with the brakes. And the chain is off as well, so that sticks against it here. There you go. Chain like that. Okay. So that's now in, it's popped down into the lugs there, and you tighten it up. But don't worry about getting it right when the bike is upside down. But so long as it's in, you can tighten it initially. Now we need to check it when we turn the bike around, but it's in now, and we put the bike up the right way. Now we're not ready to go yet because I didn't tighten it fully. So I'll just open it again, and there's a few things I want to check. You don't want your wheel rubbing off the frame. It's hard to do it in most bikes nowadays, but just make sure that it's not getting caught or anything, and it's not getting caught in your brakes. Everything looks good here. Once upon a time it was a problem, wheels used to catch, but this looks fine. But this is the most important thing now, is to make sure this is tight. You might need to trick about with it a while, but what I mean by tight, you wouldn't be able to close it with 2 fingers. So I can't close, so I need to use my hand and close it like that. So that needs to be really tight. It's really important to like if I loosen that a bit, for example. No,
Could I just ask a question about that? It's something that refers to my own bike, which I can check when I get back. But when you say it's got to be really, does that affect the cones on the actual axle?
No.
So you're just talking about the wheel dropping out?
Yes.
So being really tight?
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the side plane?
No.
Right.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No. There's what I mean by cones is that's called the hub. That piece there, and inside the hub there's basically a holder for ball bearings and a cone type. It's a nut that it looks more like not so much like a cone, but anyways, it goes in there, and then there's another piece. There's another washer, and then that's tightened. So if you have a loose wheel where it's wobbling a bit, you may need to tighten these nuts here. It's nothing to do with quick release.
Nothing to do with the quick?
Nothing. No.
Okay.
That
Thanks.
could be wear in the cone or inside
Yeah.
the bearing, so
Yeah.
you know that would be something that would probably be
Bike
looked
shop.
after your bike shop.
Yeah. So again, this is really important. I can close that with 2 fingers. That's loose. That's not good. If that's loose, potentially wheel could pop out if you just pop out. So that's not good. So what I want to do is you can tighten this one here. Okay. And almost a little bit more. Maybe half a turn. And so now I need to use my hand to close that. And that's good and tight, okay? So to close that, you have to use your hand to close it in. And that's good and tight now, not catching anything. And the last thing we do, before we go cycling, is we close our brakes again. Now it'll be obvious that that's not closed because, you see, well, it's not too bad. You could work. Well, that's your back. So see, the brake lever comes all the way in here. Okay, but if I close the brakes, like I'm doing here, see, my brakes work correctly. Okay, so just make sure you close that up. And I'm not fully pumped. I'd finished pumping now, and I'm back up and running.
Anybody want to take the puncture? Anybody want to have a go? No. Okay.
You didn't go back to the little thing on the.
Yeah,
It's optional, is it?
I don't. They are optional. Yeah, I don't use them to be honest.
Which the ring is it?
Yeah, these this can go back on here. It is optional. Okay. Because the valves, the reason they're there is, once upon a time on bikes, the old Heinellis and that, if you got a puncture or something, you had a soft tyre, the valve could actually disappear into the wheel. Okay, but this is so narrow and it's so long, that won't happen. So they're optional. I don't. Probably on these.
But actually, you can get tubes with small valves too sometimes.
Yeah. It's optional, and even the dust cap, that's called the dust cap. They're optional as well because really we're not doing anything around here that warrants having to put one of them on and off. That's not what stops the air coming in and out. That's just, it's called a dust cap, stop dust getting in, but they're both optional. You don't really need them. As you were saying, you had a really short, Aidan was saying, you had a really short valve or
I
something.
suppose the reason, Dara,
Sorry.
the reason why I have it on there, I'm not as nimble-fingered as Dara is. He did a fantastic demonstration there. For those that are thick-fingered like me, I put it on when I'm fixing the tube, just to hold the valve in place when I put the tube in around the place and put the back on. That's the only reason why they're there. You can, so, look, they're not going to slow you down, so I'd say leave them on, you know.
And Dara, are you better off to take the wheel out rather than just fix it by loosening the wheel and leave the wheel in position?
You won't get a tube on. Somehow you're going to have to get the tube in around the chain. You know what I mean, Matt?
But if you do it from the other side, you
won't
will.
get in. You have to get through the frame. You have to take the wheel out.
Right.
If you
Oh,
can,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
can,
yeah.
you'll be rich.
That's another way.
I am.
But no, unfortunately you have to take off the
yeah,
wheel.
yeah, that's right.
There's no other way around it. No, the wheel has to come off. But that's it. The front wheel is a lot easier to do because there is no gears to get in with. The trickiest part here is, and maybe I made it look easy, but to pull off the wheel, you have to take the chain off and then pull the wheel out. And put the wheel back in. You have to put the chain on first before you go try and put the wheel in. And then you know, sometimes you have to be firm with it and shove it in. Sometimes it can be tight here, so you know, you won't break anything. So that's. Well, no, it's.
No, but sometimes a wheel can be on a bike for a long time, you know, like that was good because I take the wheel off sometimes I go on the car and that. It can be a bike that you take in over the shed. It can be actually nearly welded to the frame, you know, between grime and dirt and everything else. But it takes a bit more to pull it off, you know, so that's what he's saying, but don't give up, you're not going to break until you pull it off.
Now when you're out and about, you won't have floor pumps, so you won't know what pressure. And pump up the tyre. Now, I noticed that that's way too soft, so that wouldn't be good enough to go cycling with. And if you're not sure, just check against the front one, and I can tell. Well, that's pumped much harder than this. So I'll keep pumping that until it feels something like the one at the front, and you'll be there. You won't be far off it. So that's that piece of it.
I think the important point here is what Dara was talking about, the saddlebag.
Yeah.
I noticed some of you don't have saddlebags. You don't have to be able to fix the puncture. Please have a saddlebag. If you have a saddlebag, somebody else can fix the puncture for you. You know, or somebody can come along, might come along and fix the puncture for you. But don't be isolated out there because you didn't invest in the saddlebag and the tube. And like the Dara said, you can take the tyre off without the lever if push comes to shove.
Also the levers, you can get cheap levers with it, but now with the shite.
Yeah.
Those things, is it? Yeah. And those particular tyres, you can actually take off the tyre without the levers at all.
Some tyres, it's hard to get them off.
Some are, yeah. There's Continental gator skids. They're a nightmare.
Yeah.
There's little levers on this as well. You don't have to bring. If you have a multi-tool, that won't open.
The steel levers or the aluminium ones are better rather
They
than
are.
the plastic ones.
They are, yeah. But whatever ones you get, bring them.
Yeah.
They're not bad.
Yeah. What are they?
They came in an Aldi kit.
Oh,
Yeah. They're not the best, but they're not bad for